Okay, so the next question that we have for you all, because we are focusing on social media today, we would like to know how you feel about this statement. I understand how to use social media to benefit my neighborhood group. So you can select A for definitely yes, I understand this. You can select B for I mostly understand this. C, I'm not really sure. D, I mostly don't understand this. Or E, I definitely don't understand how to use this to my benefit. And Michael did some really great descriptions, so I'm slacking with the descriptions. I'm sorry. Okay, it looks like mostly yes. Mostly yes, people understand. Okay, 50%, definitely yes, 30%, not sure, 20%. Okay. So if you haven't gotten that in yet, remember you can text it, you can text your answer, or you can go to that the link in the chat. Okay, I think, Michael, is that everybody in? I think that may be everyone. That's a pretty good, okay, thank you. Thanks, Ashley. That's a pretty good, yeah, that's a pretty good response so far. Okay, so mostly a lot of people understand how to use social media to benefit their neighborhood groups. So that's really good to hear. So social media is really a part of marketing. It's one tool in the marketing toolbox that you might have. And marketing, essentially, it really is the purpose of marketing is to communicate some information with the intent to inspire an individual or a group of individuals to take action. So when you are doing marketing, you are thinking about what do I want people to do? So it's not just, here's the thing, I want to tell you about it. You want to inspire or encourage people to take some sort of action. So be thinking about that when you're thinking about how am I going to use this platform to really market my group. And if your action that you want people to do is to simply join the neighborhood group, come to an event, share some information that you have and you want to let people know about, even sharing information about an event, the intent is to encourage people to show up to the event. So you want them to act on something that you are marketing. So I always just recommend that people kind of keep that in mind when they're marketing something is what is the ask? What are you asking people to do from this marketing? So for neighborhood groups, a lot of times that's sharing your goals, sharing your facts, your accomplishments. And when you are sharing your goals and your accomplishments and things like that, think about what do I want people to do with that information? I'm not just sharing that we had a really successful event. I'm sharing we had a really successful event and I would love it if you could donate to our neighborhood group, that you could join our neighborhood group, that you support us the next time we have an event. So always be thinking about what is that action you want people to take, because you have them in front of you and they're learning about something that maybe went really well or something that maybe you have a concern with. So especially when you have a concern or a challenge that's going on in your neighborhood, you're not just sharing, I have a challenge and I just want to tell people about it. You're like, I have a challenge in my neighborhood, I'm really struggling with it and I would like some support. And so your action is what kind of support do you need? So always be thinking about that. Okay. So as I mentioned, social media is just one type of marketing. All this big long list here are all other kinds of marketing that you could do. So of course, social media is the big one that we're talking about today, and it's very popular. Lots of people use social media. But of course, there's things like just word of mouth, putting out yard signs, which people do all over Flint. I love yard signs, they're everywhere. News stories, press releases, presentations like this could even be considered marketing, depending on your audience and what you're talking about. Just participating in other groups is a way of promoting what you're doing and who you are. And maybe you won't consider it necessarily marketing, but it may be more of a social capital type of marketing. You're always representing your group and your organization if you really want to market that group. So when you go out in the public and you're working on things and people know you're with a specific neighborhood group, keep in mind that that's another way of really representing that group. But when you're doing a formal marketing like social media or press release, I always try to tell people to stick to like the 5 W's so that they don't forget any information, because you want somebody to act. And in order to get them to act on something, you need to tell them who you are, what you need, what you're working on, or what you're doing, or what event it is, why you are doing it. So make sure you have some kind of powerful why. Why do we have a neighborhood group? Why do we care about blight? Why do we care about sidewalks? And why do we want to do this? Why are we having an event for youth and families? And then tell them where it is and when it is and how to get involved. But that why is really important. Even if you get nothing else out, tell them who you are and why you're doing what you do. If you get nothing else out there, because they'll remember that why if you have enough passion and energy behind it. And that comes across on social media and other platforms too. You got to get creative in some spaces, but always remember that part. All right, so now we are going to talk about social media, which is why we're all here. So the first thing with social media is that you really need to make sure that you are choosing the correct platform. And when I say platform, really, I just mean, are you using Instagram? Are you using Facebook? Are you using one of the newest ones, Nextdoor? Somebody mentioned it last on Monday, Nextdoor. Are you using, who knows, LinkedIn? So that's where you kind of start off. So you want to think about, how do you want people to use the social media that you choose? How much interaction do you want to have with your audience, between your audience and yourself? Or how much interaction do you want your audience to have with one another? And that is where you're really going to start figuring out what the different platforms offer. And a lot of the ones that we we'll be talking about tend to offer an opportunity for you to interact with the audience and for them to act with one another. So then you want to think about, what do you want to share? Do you want to share pictures, videos, everything? I always recommend that neighborhood groups use a platform that they can share lots of different types of information. So sharing videos, sharing photos, sharing newsletters, and having an opportunity for people to interact with one another. And then, do you need abilities to create events that you want people to register for? Do you need a way to monitor how people are chatting? Do you want a private chat group or a private page for people to interact with? That's always what I recommend for groups that are neighborhood groups or even clubs. I always recommend you pick some kind of platform where the people in your group can really be very interactive with one another, especially in this new world of everything is virtual. You really want to make sure people have opportunities to engage with each other. Oh, I was trying to press my remote on the wrong thing. So because there's so many different types of social media and we only have 45 minutes together today, I am going to focus just on one for this conversation, but I will talk a little bit about the top 3. So the top 3 social media platforms, which I'm sure most of you are probably all familiar with, it's Facebook, which I think everybody knows about Facebook now, Instagram, and Twitter. So Facebook is the one that I tend to encourage people to use if they have a group that they want to have a lot of interaction and they want to build a sense of community, because there's so many options for posting files and videos and pictures and linking things and creating events. It is one of the more versatile ones when you want to create a little virtual community as an extension of your in-person community, which one day I hope we can all get back to. Instagram is another great one if you want to share a lot of pictures, if it's very visual, and you want to show people projects that you've been working on, or you want to show people the neighborhood and just get people involved in a visual way. You can comment and you can reply back and forth with one another. You can also do direct messages on Instagram. The only, I guess, kind of downside is there really isn't a way for you to create events. You can create videos, you can create live videos and stream things. You can also do that on Facebook. But you can't create like a private group on Instagram with just the people in your membership. So that's kind of a downside of it. But if you have a very visual group or a very visual project, Instagram might be a great way to go. So especially if you're doing something like a mural or something, or if that's all that you do, that might be a really great platform. And then Twitter is one that I personally do not use a ton, but I have been on it. And Twitter is it's more fast paced. It's all about conversation. A lot of the conversation is very short. You know, you have a limited characters that you can use, and it's very quick. Twitter is moving really fast all the time. So I tend to not recommend Twitter if you are wanting to use social media to market your group. If you want to use Twitter to stay involved in a type of a conversation, then that's a good place to go. Sometimes Twitter is a really great way to engage a large audience. You can have live Twitter conversations. Sometimes it's also kind of a fun one to use during a conference. So if you're having a neighborhood conference, you might give everybody a hashtag and have them just do small little tweets. In this session, it's really awesome, send. But it's not a great space for, I want a private group, I want to build community. Nothing stays still on Twitter. So, you know, on Facebook and Instagram, you post something and you can scroll back and find it later. Or it just sits there for a while because it's at the top of the page for however long until you post something new. Twitter, everybody's posting stuff constantly, so it's hard to keep up with something that you maybe need to stay static for a moment. So Twitter, I think, is in my opinion and from my experience, it seems to be a really good platform for supplementing other social media, or it's a really good platform that you can put alongside your website or in an event. It might be really fun to have a big event and have everybody go on Twitter and talk about it. You can also do that on Instagram. Instagram and Twitter both are really great for hashtags. Facebook has hashtags, but I don't think people use them as often. So anyhow, so those are the big three. Those are the top three. During our Monday session, I did have a request that I at least mention Nextdoor. Somebody asked me if I would mention Nextdoor and talk about it a little bit. So there is a new social media platform called Nextdoor. It is very place-based. You need to be invited, I believe, and you need to put in your address. And then once you do that, your social media circle on Nextdoor is just your neighborhood and just your neighbors.
So can I interject real quick, Teresa? So with Nextdoor, you actually sign up, and then in order to be confirmed, they will send you a postcard just to make sure that your location is what you say it is. And then you have access to the sort of neighborhood feed almost. So it's not necessarily an invitation, but you do have to confirm where you live.
Thank you, Michael. So and what happened for me, I joined Nextdoor in my neighborhood, and my neighborhood group sent me a letter. So I think that's why I was like, oh, I got invited. So I got a letter. So they used another form of marketing to let me know about the social media that they're using right now. And Nextdoor does operate similarly to Facebook, where you can have kind of private groups, you can have specific topics, you can create specific events and things. I'm really new to Nextdoor, so I'm not going to talk too much about it just because I don't want to get any of the information wrong. But Michael, if you have any other tips about Nextdoor, feel free. I just joined it like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Should I say something about Nextdoor?
Yeah. Is that Edna?
We tried that here in our neighborhood and it worked out just fine, kind of, sort of, maybe. And the reason I say that is even if you're the person that started it up, so you're like the administrator, if you get somebody on there that is a heckler or just being a general nuisance like we had, you have no control over like tossing that person out of the group.
Oh,
Yeah, that's a
okay.
downfall to that, you know.
Okay.
So we just kind of went, out of hell with this. Yeah.
Okay. That's a
So
really good point, Edna.
yeah, because I mean, we had a good amount of people on it. And like I said, we had one, possibly two people that just, well, it's like you get one in every crowd. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much for saying that. On Facebook, so on Nextdoor, clearly you can't really boot people out if they become problematic. On Facebook, if you have a Facebook group or a Facebook page dedicated to your neighborhood group and people are being disruptive or are a nuisance, as Edna so politely put, you can boot them out because you have moderators in on those pages and in those group pages.
So I do want to just point out one quick thing. So Edna, that is a really great point. The thing that I would recommend in that case is they do have terms of service that they expect all of the people on their platform to observe. Um, so I'm pretty sure that if somebody is being disruptive, then you can flag them as being in violation of that. I actually did that for a couple people who were spreading just blatant disinformation about COVID, and they did boot those people from the system. I think if enough people report them. So just wanted to point that out.
Thank you. And thank you, Laura. Laura just put a link to some information about Nextdoor, so and their moderation guidelines and things. So I appreciate that. I am very new to Nextdoor, so I really appreciate that. So I am going to talk about Facebook since I just have a little, we don't have all night to talk. So I'm just going to talk about Facebook because there are 2 billion users on Facebook, according to the most recent information, which is a lot. So everyone is on Facebook, it feels like. So I am going to talk a bit about it. So one of the things I wanted to share with this group in particular about Facebook, because so many people are pretty skilled at creating their own profile page right now. You go to facebook.com, you set up your Facebook page. That part seems to be pretty easy for people to get. But one of the things that neighborhood groups can use to really kind of elevate your communication is when you go to Facebook, you can create a page about your neighborhood group, and you can also create a group for your group. So your pages are going to be places where anybody who has a business or a brand, an organization, you can connect with your fans, you can connect with your residents who are part of your group, and anybody can follow or like that page. So I have a page, it's sort of like a live website. If you have a page, I can follow it. You can make updates and I can view those updates. I can comment, I can like them, I can share them with my friends. If you have an event, I can join it, all of that kind of thing. And you can comment back to me as your page or as yourself. And it's kind of basic in that way. So I do know that many of you who are in neighborhood groups have pages, but when you are doing your page, there's also an option to have a group. And I haven't seen a lot of people do groups. So a group is almost like an extension of a Facebook page. And a group is a place where people can communicate about a shared interest. You can customize the privacy. So it's something where you can invite just the people in your neighborhood group to a private group about your neighborhood. So you could have a page about, let's use Edna's group. You can have a page about the Eastside Franklin group and share everything with the public on your page. And then you could have a smaller group where people who are members would get a different level of information, different access, and that you can make it private. You could make it invite only. You could also make that group public. If you wanted to use that for your group and sharing information, meeting notes, I would say you should probably want to make that private if you wanted to do that. But you can change the different settings so that it's private, but people can find it and they just have to be invited. You can also set up a number of questions or information before somebody says they want to join that group, so that they have rules and guidelines that they are aware of when they join. So I might go to join a group, I might go to join Edna's group, and it might say, please answer 3 questions before you join, or to be approved. And maybe some of those questions are, do you live in this neighborhood? How did you hear about us? Maybe one of your questions is, are you a resident in the city? And if I don't answer one of those questions right, you could say no. You can just say, no, you can't be in this group. We're only allowing people who live in this neighborhood to be in this group. Some people also will create group rules that you have to read through before you can be approved. And a really good trick is to add something in those group rules that say, a specific kind of line or statement. So then those questions, you can say, tell us what we said in the last line in the rules. So sometimes they'll do that just to make sure you actually went through all of the rules. But those are 2 different ways to approach it. You can have a page, it's open to the public, you can share, people can see it, share it, interact with it. It's great. And then you can have a group, which is a more specified kind of setup. And then there's a way where you can connect the 2, which is really helpful. And if anybody has any questions, please, I'm going to pause and ask if anybody has any questions, because I know that I'm sharing a lot in a small amount of time. Let's see, I'm going to scroll through and see if I see any hands. Okay, I don't see any hands. All right, so I am going to ask Michael if we can click on these buttons in this slide. This is to give you an example. So this is my neighborhood group, which is the College Cultural Neighborhood. I live over by Pierce. And so this is just the group page. So it's just a page. They sharing all their information. There you go. It's, hey, here's what we're doing. Here's some pictures. It looks beautiful. So it's pretty simple. And then if you go to the group, now once we do click on the group, it's going to be a little bit different. So if Michael can go back and then, cool. So when you click on the group, it says join our group. Here's all the information you need in order to do that. You do not have access to this group yet because we're not a part of it. And so if you scroll down, you can kind of see that they have rules. There's a purpose for the group. There's some history that they have about the group. You can see the number of people that are a part of the group. There's been 5 posts today. So it's very, very specific to, we live in this neighborhood, or we support this neighborhood, and we've been approved to be in this group. And you can't see this information unless you're a part of this group. And it's sort of a way to have kind of what we had in the 90s, and like message boards, or just a way to interact in a continuous way instead of having lots of text messages or anything like that going back and forth between people in the group. You can just have a group instead. And I'm sure if you're a group leader, you've probably had lots of phone calls or text messages, or you're on like a group email chain. And if you have a group page, that might kind of cut down on all the emails or text messages. You could say, hey, I put the flyer in the group page, if you want to download it and go hand it out to the group or to the neighborhood, instead of, okay, let me email it. Did you get my email? I can't find it, somebody else needs it, you might just put it in the group, which is one way to kind of use that. Charlotte just asked in the Charlotte just asked in the chat, how does one add a donate button to the group page? So I believe you cannot add a donate button to the group. You can add it to a page. And so that I have not done. So I am going to see if Laura would mind Googling, if Laura would mind looking that up and dropping some instructions into the chat for us. That would be really helpful. I know that there is, if you go to Facebook, you can look up, I would like to add fundraising, and then it'll kind of step you through, what are you fundraising for? You have to kind of verify that you are an organization. I believe you have to have the information about the organization that you want to fundraise for. And you might need to have a 501 in order to do that. I added a donate button to my personal Facebook page to do a fundraiser, but I believe that the steps are very similar. Oh, great. So Charlotte, you are, so you say that steps, yeah, so you should be able to do that then, Charlotte, because you have been verified and everything. If you follow those instructions, you can kind of walk through that and allow people to donate to you. Okay, I'm gonna go next. Dominique, I do not know how to do that. Dominique is asking, how do you filter the page to a specific neighborhood demographics? That I don't know. I believe that that is more of a advertising. When you have a paid advertisement, you can do that. I don't think you can do that when you have a free public page. I believe you can only do it with advertisements. All right, so if you want to create a page, you go to facebook.com/pages and then /create. And then you click on the type of page that you have. And they give you a drop down with some different options. And then you fill in your required information and you just click and follow the on-screen instructions. We don't have to do a demo, but if you click on that demo button, I'd like to at least show you guys where you will land. So when you want to create a page, it will ask you, are you a community group or are you a business or a brand? And you will have different options depending on which you choose. So I recommend that you definitely choose community and public figure, because you have a little more flexibility with what you can do. Businesses and brands have some different options. Oops. So the group page is a little bit tricky. So I do want to click on the demo to do that, because it is a little bit, it's not as intuitive. So in order to create a group, you need to be logged in, and you have to click groups from the left side of the menu when you are logged into your Facebook. So there is a button on the side that says groups, and you'll click create a new group, name your group, select your privacy setting, and then you click create. And then you get this big page where you can kind of personalize everything. You can add images, you can add a header, you can do lots of other things. And then you can click save. And you can also connect your group to your page that you have at that time if you want to do that, or you can keep them separate. And Michael, I don't know if it'll show up or not, because I think you have to be logged in. So that's okay. So
sorry, I actually don't have a Facebook account, so apologies for that.
So Michael won't be able to see your information. He won't be able to help promote you, because he doesn't have a Facebook group or Facebook page. I'm gonna see if I can pull up mine real quick. Okay. So yes, so this one is a little bit more, there is just more steps, I think, for for the creating a group, because you have to find the button in the first place on your Facebook page. I am gonna try to, why am I not logged in? I am gonna log in and try to show you guys that as soon as I can do that. So I do want to ask, I know Heather is on. Heather, are you still on?
Yes, ma'am.
I did want to ask if you wanted to share any of your experiences with either a group or a page. Heather is in Mott Park, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And they have a really, they use social media a lot, and they link social media with their website, their group, and a page. And so there's a lot of layers there. And I was just curious if you had any tips when it comes to creating the page versus the group. Like, which one did you guys prefer?
Well, I was just actually, we have a messenger, and since I'm the only one from the group on tonight, and I'm new to their social media plan, I'm asking them by our text, do we have a page? Do we have a website? So yes, they have everything. We don't utilize the page as much as we should. I do marketing for my job, so I'm new to the group. So some of the things that we're doing right now is Megan, who was on with us last night, she's going to work through like our web page. Since we're in a virtual environment with COVID, everybody has social media that they're using and everything is virtual like we're doing tonight. What I've noticed is virtual, for me, this is like I ate dinner, I got on, I didn't have to drive anywhere. So there are benefits to social media, and you have to change what you're doing, because before they were doing a newsletter and paper print. So in one of our last committee meetings that we had Megan assigned to the web page. I am social media marketing. And tonight I'm on here because I want to learn how to get more traffic to our page when we're doing fundraising. We're in a kind of a whirlwind right now because we don't know when to prepare. Like, we want to have a picnic. I'm a new neighbor even here. And so we can't really plan too much because of COVID. So we're trying to use social media. Okay. So one of the things that we recently did is we decided, because like Edna said, we have some people and there's some controversy going on in the neighborhood. You get your people on there that want to do crazy stuff. We wanted more positivity. We wanted more motivation. We felt like people are locked in their homes and they needed some support. And there's been some issues. About a month ago, we had the chief of police, the mayor, Kettering. We hosted a live event on Facebook. I was shocked because I'm terrible with tech that we pulled this off. And then we had all these big shots. City council was on. We presented to the neighborhood, because one of the problems that we have is we don't have good communication about when stuff is happening, good and bad. We want to make sure people know where to check stuff. So recently we just started working on a new marketing plan where I became involved in some of our members. So I have been doing things that are fun things to engage the neighbors since we're on lockdown. We post motivational posts. We look up things that are, today is National Margarita Day. That was 2 days ago. We have a virtual car show last weekend. Next weekend, I'm gonna have a pet show off. So you better put your wiener dogs on there. and so we're really just trying to get people to meet each other, because the first thing that has to happen is it starts at home and it starts with your neighbors. And if you don't know each other, you can reach everybody for positivity. Yeah. Of course, the negativity, I'm a moderator. So that's how we use it. And that's what we're working on to try to make it better.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Heather. I am going to show you guys very quickly where to find that groups button. Since I am getting kind of pressed for time a little bit here, I'm going to show you guys where to find that create a group button, because it is a little bit difficult, I thought, when I went to make a group. So this is my landing page on Facebook. So you can see my cute little cousin here. He's turning 9. So when you log into Facebook, clearly this is where you kind of get dumped. You get dumped into your news feed. On the left-hand side over here, there is groups and there's pages. And so in order to create a group, you have to click on your groups, and then you have to scroll. You don't have to scroll. There's a big button right here that says create a new group. And that is how you create a private or a public group. So you have to go to the groups in order to find it. That was what I thought was a little bit not as intuitive as Pages. Pages, I think you can just click create a page from one of the main page. But yeah, you have to actually click on, oh, I want to go to all of my groups and then create a group. So I just wanted to show you guys that because I thought it was a little bit, I didn't think it was as easy to find. And so you can choose if you want public or private right here and name your group and put a picture and all of that kind of stuff. I won't get into a whole bunch of details, but one other kind of cool thing that you can see, because everybody doesn't have a computer, there is an option to view what does it look like on a phone, and it's in the upper right hand corner right here. So you can click that and you can see, oh, this is what it would look like for somebody who's on a phone versus somebody on a computer. So I just wanted to show you guys that, just because I know we don't have a ton more time, so I'll try to be a little quick here. So then, and you guys do have all of these slides in your packet. And if you don't have a packet, please let us know. Like Ashley said, we can either email this to you or Michael can make a delivery because he's so gracious and is offering that up. And then we do have packet pickup times where if you need a copy from weeks 1 through 3, we can have those available during the weeks 4 and 6 pickup as well. So when you go to create an event, you can do that directly from your news feed. So if you log into Facebook, it's on that left-hand side again, and all you have to do is click create an event. It's pretty simple there. But once you create an event, since Heather kind of mentioned, oh, I didn't mean to do that yet. Heather kind of mentioned, like, how do you generate traffic? How do you get people interested? So events, that's one of the places where you could do something like that. That's where you are going to have an opportunity to try to drive some traffic to your different group pages. So events are where I would recommend, if you do have a budget, you can put $10 on an event and market that event. You could put $20 on it. A very, very small amount goes a long way on Facebook. And that is where I believe somebody mentioned earlier, is there a way for you to do advertising, or is there a way for you to narrow where you want your pages to go? You can narrow who you want your boosted event to be shared with. So you could put, $15 in boosting an event or advertising an event. You could put $15 into it, and then you could limit it and say, I only want this to be advertised for the weekend, and I only want it to go to people in this zip code. So that is where you have that opportunity. And if you are interested in that, you guys are always welcome to call me. I'm happy to jump on Zoom and help people with this kind of stuff. This is stuff I love. And I love working with you guys. And we only have 45 minutes, so there's no way to get through all of it tonight, but I'm always happy to help people with this kind of thing. And that part is a really, really good way to get people to kind of see it. And the other way to generate some excitement or get some people to see your pages is to ask everybody who's in the group to share it with at least 3 or 4 people. If they can share it with their whole friends list, awesome. But if they can share it with key people that they know live in the community that will join, that is another way to do that. So if you have a big group of 10, 15 people showing up to a meeting, ask all of them to invite people that live in the neighborhood or that live around you, and ask them to share your event. The more that you share an event and the more people that say that they're going to your event, the more other people will see it. So if I say I'm interested in an event, it'll show up in my news feed and all my friends will see I'm going to an event. I'm going to Heather's virtual car show, and Ashley saw it because it's in my news feed and now it's in hers. It's like, Teresa's interested in this event. So that's one way, is to get people to start noticing and being involved. Because I only have like 3 more minutes, I am not going to walk us through fundraising on Facebook, but there is this page in your materials that shows you kind of how do you get that to happen. But it is only on the pages or your personal Facebook page. You can't do it inside of a group, if that makes sense. So that is there, but it's, again, you just click on fundraisers, click raise money, select your group from a list. And if your group is not there, I believe you can register your group with Facebook, but you have to go through those steps before you can do that. You do have to formally get your group listed with Facebook in order to raise funds for it. Or you can work with, or if you have a fiduciary, you probably could ask them to do a fundraiser on your behalf via Facebook. So finally, some final tips. Make sure that you are defining your audience. Is it just your neighborhood that you want to reach? Is it the city of Flint? Is it everybody in the county? You know, how big do you want that audience? And that's where kind of that events part comes into play, because you can add advertising to it. And if you define your audience, you know how you want to talk about the information. So if your audience for your social media post, even if it's just a simple post, if your audience is, I want to make sure that our mayor sees this, I want to make sure that elected officials or city staff are paying attention to it, you might want to frame things a little bit differently. You might want to include different information. If it's something that you want to engage families and kids, it might be more happy and upbeat and fun and colorful. So just think about that. And then, you know, Heather had mentioned, I think it was Heather mentioned, how do you get more people to talk and engage and do stuff? So one of the things, people tend to post a lot on their Facebook groups or pages, and they tend to just post a lot. You really want to post useful, relevant, interesting information, not just post a lot. Posting a lot of stuff that people don't necessarily want is just going to make people unfollow you. So even if you don't post frequently, but every time you do post, it's really interesting, it's relevant, it's useful information, I can do something with it, or you're asking me to do something, that's where that what are you asking people to do part comes back into play. Interesting information that you want people to take action with is helpful. And don't underestimate having photos, videos, interactive things. People love pictures, they'll share them, and just posting consistently. So those are just a few tips. This, of course, is not, an exhaustive list of what you can do with social media or what tips there are out there. I'm always really happy to talk to people about this. I say start off at the beginning, start small, make sure you're consistent, you have good images, that you have images and you have videos, you have useful information. And then as you kind of grow, then maybe think about adding a group, then maybe think about adding fundraising. Another really great way to get people to start to pay attention to your group is to ask one of your partner organizations to share things from your group. Is to reach out to Ashley, reach out to me, reach out to somebody who's in this group, to reach out to Flint Neighborhood United. Hey, we've got an event going on. Would you guys mind sharing it? I'm a neighborhood group. We're going to say yes. I mean, it's appropriate. It's a neighborhood group. That's what we do. So that's one way to get your group seen by a lot of people really quickly. We might not share everything, but you know, if it's an event or something that's happening in your neighborhood and it's available to the public, we likely will, you know, kind of just depends on what it is. But yes, I know that was really fast. I tried to get a lot of information into a short window. I didn't realize how quick that would go. Does anybody have any questions? I know there's probably a lot of questions. Any questions that I maybe could answer, or even just chat with you guys later offline about it if you want. I need to scroll through to see. Or you can. Sam has a question. Your hand popped right up. Cool.
Yeah.
I didn't have to scroll. So Sam, and then I think I heard Eartha.
Yes, thank you.
So I'm gonna have Sam ask her question, and then Eartha, and then I will let Ashley kind of whip me into shape here with making sure I'm on time.
Toward the end of your presentation, you said really to hear about like if it's not engaging, maybe kind of don't post it and really focus on the information that people are into. What's the best way to or is there an analytic or something that we should be paying attention to gauge like if people are interested in our content?
Yes. So if you have a Facebook page, you can go into your page manager kind of settings. And there is a way for you to see how are people engaging with your content. And I recommend that as a way to kind of keep an eye on what's interesting to the people that you share, because you'll start to notice patterns of what gets higher likes, what is getting more interaction, and really start to see what is the difference between those posts. That is what I recommend doing. And I can talk with you about that at another time if you like, because I have some pages that we have, and that is what I like to do. Here, I'm going to show this really quickly here. So this is a page that I have. So I knit stuff. And when I go to my page, on the left-hand side, I have all these different options, but one of them here is called Insights. And that is where you're gonna go when you want to see how your page is doing. And it'll load all this data. I have not done anything with my page in a long time. And it'll show you have not done anything with your page in a long time. But you can scroll down and you can look at the specific posts that you've done. And you can look and see what is the reach, what's the engagement. So your reach is how many people saw it just scrolling through their feed, just saw it. They just only saw it pop up. Your engagement is how many people actually tried to do something with that post. Did they like it, comment, share it? That is where engagement is at. And so if you look at that, you can start to kind of see the differences here. I know it's kind of small for you guys. So the difference between mine with the engagement, because that's what you want to look at, is reach and is engagement a lot of times. My reach was higher and my engagement is higher on these two different posts where you can see my face. So the differences between here is that there's a person in these pictures. So that's when I started to notice I need to do more pictures, more posts that have me in them. Some of these posts, don't miss this event. People they don't care about it at all. I'm not in those. So that I thought was really interesting. So anyhow, so that's one way that you can do that. And I am gonna stop sharing there. And Eartha, I know that you also had a question, but I know we're over time too. If somebody is...
It can wait.
Okay.
I can touch bases with you later. It can wait, honey.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna put my contact information in the chat. So if anybody wants to reach out to me or even chat or even do like a one-on-one with me, you are more than welcome to do that.
Okay.
you.